Okay, so are you ready to unpack some seriously complicated relationships?
Always.
Because today we are diving into Colleen Hoover's It Ends With Us.
Such a great pick. I'm excited to dig into this one.
Yeah, we're going to look at those excerpts you sent over
Okay.
and really get into how Hoover writes about love, family, and honestly, just how messy being human can be sometimes.
Well, and what strikes me right off the bat is that Hoover doesn't waste any time.
No, she doesn't.
Like, from the very first page, she throws us right into this emotional whirlwind.
Yes.
With Lily meeting Ryle for the first time.
Oh, yeah. Talking about a whirlwind.
Right.
It's instant attraction, full force. He's beautiful, smells like money.
Yeah.
It's like Hoover's totally playing with those classic elements of attraction. But even from that first moment, you just get this feeling like there's more to it, right?
Absolutely. It's almost as if that initial spark could be blinding Lily
Yes.
to some potential red flags. Like, remember when Ryle gets really uncomfortable
Oh, tell me.
with Lily sitting on the edge of that rooftop?
Uh-huh.
He even asks her to come down.
You know, it's so funny you mention that because it's such a small detail.
Right.
I feel like I almost glossed over it the first time I read it.
Right.
But now that you mention it, it's like, do you think that's already a hint
Oh, for sure.
about Ryle's personality?
Yeah.
Even in that very first scene,
I think so.
is it him showing genuine concern? Or is it maybe something a little more,
Yes, exactly.
possessive even?
Yeah, and I think that's what's so brilliant about the way Hoover writes.
Okay.
She leaves it really open to interpretation.
Interesting.
You know, she kind of drops these little breadcrumbs that make you question his motives right
Yeah.
from the very beginning.
I like that. Breadcrumbs.
And then, of course, there's that whole naked truths game they play.
Oh my gosh. Talk about diving headfirst into vulnerability.
All right.
I mean, it's like their first real conversation and they're just laying it all out there.
I know.
Some deep stuff.
Ryle's whole aversion to marriage.
Right.
Lily's complicated relationship with her father.
Heavy stuff.
It's a lot. I
Yeah.
mean, would you be that open and vulnerable with practically a stranger?
Honestly, it made me really stop and think about
Yeah.
intimacy in general.
Okay.
You know, this whole idea that revealing really personal things can kind of fast track a feeling of closeness.
I can see that. But then, is that really genuine connection? Or is it just like the illusion of it?
Ooh, that is such a good point. And it reminds me of that saying, familiarity breeds contempt.
Right.
Except in this case, it's more like vulnerability breeds a relationship.
Right. Exactly.
Huh. I'm not so sure that's always a recipe for success.
No.
But we can circle back to that. For now, we need to talk about the other important man in Lily's life, Atlas.
Yes. This is where we really see the contrast between the two men.
Uh-huh.
You have Ryle, this successful neurosurgeon, right? He showers Lily with these really expensive gifts.
Okay.
But underneath it all, there's this resistance to fully committing.
Right.
And then you have Atlas, who comes from a completely different world
Totally, yeah.
and offers a different kind of support.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because it makes me wonder, what is it about those bad boys? Like, why are we so drawn to them?
Right.
Is it in our nature to be drawn to what's familiar, even if it might not be the best for us?
That's a great question.
I mean, especially when you consider Lily's family history.
Yes, exactly. And that's what makes It Ends With Us so compelling.
Okay.
It's not just a typical love story.
Right.
It's about these deeper cycles,
Okay.
about the patterns we keep repeating in our lives.
Yeah.
Often without even realizing it.
Interesting.
And to really understand Lily's choices, we need to look at her family history,
Okay.
especially her mother's experiences, because they are so crucial to the story.
I see that.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. It's like we're watching this train wreck in slow motion, and you just want to reach into the pages and shake Lily
Yeah.
and be like, don't you see what's happening?
Yeah.
But of course, it's never that simple, is it?
No, it's not. And that's where things get really, really heartbreaking,
Yeah.
We see Ryle's behavior escalating,
Yeah.
and it's not just those expensive gifts anymore.
Right.
It's those subtle little digs,
Yeah.
the possessiveness,
Mhm.
and then eventually it turns into actual physical abuse.
It's tough to read, honestly.
Absolutely.
Especially seeing Lily trying to make sense of what's going on,
Right.
her own feelings for Ryle.
Yeah. And this is where I think Hoover does a phenomenal job
Okay.
of really digging into just how complicated domestic violence can be.
Yeah. It's never straightforward.
Never.
Yeah.
Because it's not just about the abuse. There's also love mixed in there, and fear and hope.
Right.
And it just slowly chips away at your sense of self-worth.
Right. And I think a lot of readers, especially those who haven't experienced anything like that, they might ask themselves, why doesn't she just leave?
Right, right.
But it's never that easy.
No, not at all. And it becomes even more complicated when we think about Lily's past.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, she grew up watching her mother go through something very similar with her father.
Yeah. That parallel is so powerful.
Yeah.
We see Lily making excuses for Ryle's behavior.
Exactly.
Almost like she's echoing the things her own mother used to say.
It's heartbreaking.
It really is.
And it really underscores the cyclical nature of abuse.
Yes.
You know, how these patterns can repeat themselves across generations.
It's like this awful inheritance that nobody asked for.
Exactly.
But even with all the darkness, there are moments of light.
Yes, thankfully.
Lily does find the strength to leave Ryle, right?
She does. She
That's-
does. And it's testament to how resilient she is.
Yeah.
And it reminds us that it is possible to break free from those cycles.
Right.
It might not be easy,
Right.
but it is possible. And it often starts with recognizing that there's a problem in the first place.
Right. Acknowledging it.
Exactly. And then reaching out for support.
Yes. And let's not forget about Elisa,
Oh, yeah, Elisa.
Lily's best friend.
She is such a good friend.
She's that ride or die friend that everyone needs.
Absolutely.
Especially when you're going through something as difficult as what Lily went through. It really shows how important it is to have a strong support system.
It makes a world of difference. And not just for practical help, but for emotional support, too.
Totally.
Sometimes just having someone there who believes in you, even when you don't believe in yourself,
Oh, yeah, for sure.
that can make all the difference in the world.
It can. And speaking of incredible women, we have to talk about Lily naming her daughter Emerson after Ellen DeGeneres.
Yes.
What do you think about that choice?
I love that detail.
Yeah.
It's beautiful on so many levels, you know.
Totally. It's like a tribute to someone she admires,
Right.
but it also feels like Lily reclaiming her own voice.
Yes, exactly.
Like she's consciously choosing these strong, positive female influences for her daughter.
I love that interpretation because it's about breaking free from those negative patterns of the past
Right.
and choosing a different future.
Yeah, I like that. And that ending, though, wow.
I know, right? Talk about leaving you hanging.
Seriously.
Yeah.
Years go by, and bam, Lily bumps into Atlas again.
Just like that.
Out of the blue. And it's such a confusing moment, you know?
Totally.
There's all this hope there, but also so much uncertainty.
It packs a punch, that's for sure. It's not your typical happily ever after.
Not at all. So, be honest. What was your take when you first read that last scene?
You know, I think it's one of those endings that really sticks with you.
Okay.
Because it doesn't give you easy answers. It makes you really think, like, can they actually have a second chance?
Right.
After all that's happened, all that time.
It's a big question, for sure.
And can you ever really outrun your past? Or do those experiences just keep shaping you?
It makes you think about the whole idea of forgiveness.
Yes.
Not just forgiving other people, but forgiving yourself, too.
Absolutely. And for me, it also brought up this question of,
Okay.
can love really conquer everything?
Wow.
Even when there's been so much hurt, so much pain.
That is heavy stuff.
Yeah.
And Hoover doesn't shy away from any of it.
No, she doesn't.
She lays it all out there. The good, the bad, all the messy bits in between.
Which is what makes it so real. And I think that's why people connect with her characters so strongly, because they feel like real people.
They do.
With real flaws, making real mistakes.
And that author's note at the end,
Yes.
where she talks about her own experiences, that just hits you right in the feels.
Absolutely. It's brave of her to share something so personal.
It is.
Because it reminds us that these things we're talking about, they're not just stories, they're real life.
They are, for so many people.
And sometimes just sharing those stories, even the really tough ones,
Yeah.
it can be so powerful, so healing.
Yes, 100%. And I think that's what makes It Ends With Us such a powerful book and a great book for us to dive into today.
I agree.
It reminds us that even when things are dark and messy, there's always hope.
Oh.
Hope for healing, for growth, for finding a love that's both passionate and healthy.
Kind of said it better myself. So to our listeners, what resonated with you most from It Ends With Us? Did it spark any reflections on your own lives, your own relationships? We want to hear from you. Head over to our social media and join the conversation. Until next time, keep diving deep,